Hey family, welcome back to Underdogs Rise, the podcast where we rise together. In today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about how grief is still the proof that love still exists. There's a sentence I want you to sit with today, not just to hear, but to really feel. Grief is the proof that love still exists. And let that land for a second. Because most of us have been taught to see grief as something broken, something wrong, something that we need to fix, to rush, or just to move on from as quickly as possible. But what if? What if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if grief isn't the sign that something is ending, but it's the evidence that something meaningful once lived and still does? Think about it. You don't grieve things that don't matter. You don't lose sleep over people you never cared about. You don't feel that heaviness in your chest for moments that meant nothing. Grief only shows up where love has been. And that changes everything. Because instead of asking, why does this hurt so much? We can start asking ourselves, what does this say about how deeply I loved? Maybe for you, grief looks like losing someone. A parent, a partner, a friend, a child. Or maybe it's not as obvious. Maybe it's the life that you thought you'd have. The version of you that didn't make it. The relationship that slowly faded. Or the dream that didn't work out. Grief isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. And it shows up in the moments where everything goes still. When a memory hits you from nowhere. When a song comes on suddenly. And you're just not where you are anymore. You're back there, feeling it all again. And here's a truth that most people avoid, me included. Grief doesn't leave you when you ignore it. It waits. It lingers in the background of your life, showing up in ways you don't always recognise. It can show up as irritation, numbness, disconnection, or overthinking. Not because you're weak, but because something inside of you hasn't been acknowledged yet. So instead of running from your grief, what if you turn towards it? Not to stay stuck in it, but to understand it. Because grief isn't your enemy, it's a signal, a reflection. And a reminder to you of what matters. There's a moment for us all in the experience after loss, when you realise that the world still moves and it keeps moving. People still laugh. Life continues. And relationships change. And there is a part of you that feels almost angry at that. How can everything just carry on when my world has changed? And that feeling, that disconnect, that's grief too. It's like your mind is trying to reconcile two realities. The world as it is now and the world as it was when that love was still present in your life and in the same way. But here's where the shift happens. Love doesn't disappear, it changes form. The person may not be here, the situation may be gone, but the love you felt doesn't vanish, it moves. It lives in memories. In who you've become, in the way you treat others, and in the values that you carry forward. Grief is the transition point. It's what love feels like, where it has no longer somewhere physical to go. And that's why it can feel sometimes so overwhelming. Because all that love, all that energy is still inside of you, looking for a place to land. Some people try and shut that down, and I've been one of those people. They tell themselves to be strong, to move on, not to think about it, to repress it. But strength isn't about avoidance. Real strength is being able to sit with that and with what hurts, and without letting it define you. So what do you do with grief? You don't rush it. You don't force it. You allow it to move like waves. And some days it's calm. And other days it hits hard. And it hits harder. But neither means that you're going backwards. It means that you're processing it. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop asking, when will this pain go away? And you start asking, how can I carry this love forward? Because that's the real question. Not how to erase grief, but how to transform it. Maybe that looks like speaking about the person you lost. Keeping their memory alive instead of avoiding it. Maybe it's just becoming the kind of person they believe that you could be. And you might not have seen that. Maybe it's loving people more openly now, because you understand how fragile life is. Grief has a way of waking you up. It strips away the noise, the small worries, the distractions, the things that don't actually matter, and it puts you face to face with something real. Connection, meaning, and time. And the time that we have left. And here's something else people don't talk about enough. Grief doesn't follow a timeline. You don't complete it. It evolves. There will be days, even years, where it hits you again. But that doesn't mean that you're back at the start. It means that the love is still there. Just imagine that. Instead of seeing those moments as setbacks, you're seeing them as just reminders, proof. And that's evidence. It's evidence that he experienced something that mattered. That it was real. That it changed you. Because at the end of the day, the opposite of love isn't grief. The opposite of love is indifference. And you don't feel grief where there was once indifference. You feel it where there was depth. Depth of the meaning that you held for someone. For that connection. Because there was something worth holding on to. So if you're grieving right now, don't rush yourself out of it. Don't judge yourself for it. And don't see it as something that's broken. See it for what it is. A reflection of your capacity to love. And that is not something to repress. That is something to respect and to honour and to cherish. Because the same depth that allows you to feel that grief is the same depth that will allow you to love again and again and again and again. Maybe not in the same way, and maybe not with the same people. But in a way that's even more aware, more present, and more intentional. And this is a hard lesson that I have had to learn along my journey. And there have been times where grief has closed my heart. But I made a new decision. And I realised that grief doesn't close your heart. The avoidance of it does. So feel it. Not all at once, not all the time, but honestly, gently, and at your own pace. Because every time you allow yourself to feel grief, you're also allowing yourself to honour the love that created it. And that's the reframe. Grief is not something you need to get over. It's something that you learn to carry, not as a weight, but as a reminder. A reminder that you loved. A reminder that you were connected. And a reminder that something meaningful, it existed in your life. And if that is true, then grief isn't just pain, it's proof. Proof that love was there. Proof that it mattered. And proof that in some form it still does. Take your time with this one. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to run from what you feel. There's meaning in it. And more importantly, there's love in it. Underdogs rise. And we rise together.